Okay, so we are live streaming. So I'm thinking we will simply get started. So Casey, do you want to start us off with a just an overview of how you organize this and what the forum includes?
Okay, it's off.
Yeah. Okay, Casey, go ahead with whatever welcoming statement you want to make.
Okay, I'm Casey Nash, a 4-year resident of Rio Vista, and I love it here. During the last city council election, I noticed that there was no candidates forum being sponsored by the League of Women Voters, as I've been used to in other locations where I live. So I got in touch with the League of Solano and asked them whether we could do a forum here. And they said, yes, it'd be great. So that's why you're seeing the presentation here tonight. I firmly believe that the city council election is not a popularity contest. There are some very important issues that these people are going to need to decide in the next few years that are going to affect our pocketbooks, our community, and our businesses. So I really think that everyone should be as well informed as they can be, and that forums like this really will help. So I hope that you will listen, watch, learn, come out on November 8th and vote, and have a good time tonight watching our candidates and what they're doing. And thanks to the League for doing this, and thank you to Robbie and Sarah for taking part in it.
Okay, thanks very much, Casey. And for all of you who may be watching either live or the recorded version, welcome to our forum for candidates in the 2022 Rio Vista City Council 2-year term election. This forum is being held on the Zoom platform and then is being live streamed on League of Women Voters Solano County YouTube channel. A recording of the forum will be saved on the YouTube channel for others to watch at their convenience. League of Women Voters has a long history of supporting voter registration and education. Candidate forums sponsored by the League are designed to be fair and informative, giving the public an opportunity to hear directly from candidates what their vision is and what their leadership capacity is for future service in the elected position they are seeking. In accordance with League standards, this will be a forum, not a debate. The candidates will be asked a series of questions for their response to the audience. They will not be addressing their opponent, nor will they be characterizing their opponent in any way. The candidates will have 4 minutes each for their opening and closing statements. Most questions will give each candidate 3 minutes to respond, and I will be alternating between candidates for first response. Toward the end of the questioning period, to cover the most questions possible, we may hold a lightning round, giving each candidate only 1 minute to respond to those questions. Our timer will give each candidate a warning that time is nearing the end at 30 seconds remaining. And then again, when the candidate is asked to finish. And for those who would like to pose questions in the YouTube live stream, you can enter the questions into the chat feature. Just know that the questions we entertain must be addressed so that both candidates can answer the questions. We don't put direct questions to either candidate. So that's the way we do that. Okay, so So we'll move ahead now with brief intros and our opening statements. Robbie Williams was appointed to the Rio Vista City Council on November 30th, 2021. She has lived in Rio Vista for 7 years and has been actively involved in the community, volunteering with Rio Vision, Seroptimus of Rio Vista, the Rio Vista Chamber of Commerce, and the Rio Vista Auxiliary. She served on the Rio Vista Planning Commission for 4 years before accepting appointment to the City Council. She is the city liaison for the Association of Bay Area Government, ABAG, and council liaison for the Public Safety Planning Commission. Sarah Stocking Donnelly is a sixth generation Californian and has lived in Rio Vista for over 30 years. For the past 11 years, she has owned a small business in the city, employing 3 people. She served on the board of the River Delta Unified School District for 2 terms, and for several of those years, she was president of the board. She has also worked as a substitute teacher, served on boards of Seroptimus, and she's active in her church. So we will move now to our opening statements, and in a random selection, Sarah was chosen to begin our opening statements. So, Sarah, it's your floor.
Thank you. And thanks for that introduction. I am really appreciative of the League of Women Voters doing this for us tonight. My grandmother was active pretty much her whole career as a faculty wife in League of Women Voters. So I really appreciate your group. Just adding to that introduction, we have lived here for 30 years. We raised all 3 of our children here. They're graduates of the high school here, gone on to be very successful adults in their own different fields. I would add that I am currently a board member of Seroptimus. I've been in since 2012. Before that, of course, I was very active as a volunteer in the schools, in the Booster Club, and other fundraising that happened when my children were here in school. I have been pretty busy with the flower shop since 2011. We own our house here in town. We renovated a house. It's almost 100 years old. We just bought and closed on commercial property here in town. One of the buildings will be an Airbnb in the future. The other is a commercial space for rent. My husband and I have been married for 35 years. We plan on retiring here in Rio Vista. I'm a Delta raised, been here, grew up in Stockton and the Sierras, so I'm very familiar with the area. I'm interested, probably say my top priorities are protecting public safety and supporting our first responders. My son-in-law is a first responder and as a firefighter in Fremont. And I want to, of course, as a business owner and a property owner, facilitate economic development in our city, and recognizing that our waterfront is an unused and unrecognized asset, but a great asset. I also want to, having raised our kids here in town, I'm very familiar with those challenges and want to promote other opportunities here in town for our youth. And I'm still really in touch with a lot of our families who are raising kids in this area. I want to also make sure that in that economic development, we are recognizing the value of this small town and this small town life, and what it has to offer all of us, whatever age we are, and just make sure that we preserve the unique appeal of our little town. And I say my time, I was elected to school board, appointed to the second term. And I would say that that gave me a lot of really good experience here in town. I served on the city council 2x2 committee, working with our mayor and other council members, the superintendent of schools. So that time on the school board gave me some good insight into our city. My husband currently serves and has served in the past on the planning commission, as did his father before him. So I have some really good, history about what's happened in this town. So looking forward to serving the community of Rio Vista.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Donnelly. Now, Councilmember Williams, it's your turn for an opening statement.
My hometown was Redwood City, and there I raised my family, 2 sons and a daughter, who have given me 12 grandkids and a great-grandson. I was an active volunteer on the South Redwood Little League, Pop Warner football and cheer team. I was an early adopter of a profitable Mrs. Mom's service business, which included assisting working moms with household chores, and I operated a successful home-based secretarial and resume business. In my 32-year career in the construction industry, my experience included receptionist, purchase agent, accounting, including payables, receivables, and payroll. In the paving and grading industry, I worked as a project administrator, involved in safety meetings, ordering equipment, and dispatching manpower, tracking costs and budget and HR duties. My last position was as a project manager working in various Bay Area cities. My construction experience encompassed governmental agencies like Caltrans District 4 and working with various cities and counties in the Bay Area as both a prime and a subcontractor.
Why this time it's ringing?
In 2015, upon moving to Rio Vista, I began volunteering with Rio Vision, the Rio Vista Chamber of Commerce, Seroptimist International of Rio Vista, and the American Legion Women's Auxiliary. Relationship building with a wide and diverse group of people is important in both my work and volunteer careers. Volunteering has allowed me to work as the event director for the last 4 years for Rio Vision's Hog August Fights. This is the second largest event in Rio Vista, bringing in between 5,000 and 6,000 people from as far away as Madera and Redding to discover our wonderful community. We have return visitors year after year because they find we are one of the nicest places they've been to. The city of Rio Vista has both opportunities and challenges ahead. With the hiring of an economic development consultant, we are able to build a path forward with the knowledge gained from research and community involvement. We will be able to formulate a marketing plan for the city to bring in business and industry, which results in local jobs. This is not a fast process, but a calculated one, which will bring about more of what the city needs and wants. A looming challenge is the wastewater treatment plants. There are a series of mandatory steps to make these changes to meet California regulations. This is a multi-phase project that includes increasing the available capacity at the Northwest plant, connecting new plumbing, pipes and pumps to the Northwest plant, and of course, decommissioning the 70-year-old beach plant, which is expensive to operate due to obsolete parts and not in compliance with current state and federal regulations. Another challenge is the availability of domestic water for the community, as we already need more access at our current population level. Other improvement opportunities include traffic calming for our streets, a more transparent government process for our committees and commissions, improved customer service in our city hall through changes in our policies that is more consumer friendly, improved utilization of our airport, and the youth voice in our decision-making processes on commissions and committees. I believe that our politics can be better. When we listen to the community and work together, we can and we will see change. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Williams. we're going to start our question period now. And Councilmember Williams, you will be the first to respond to the first question. What do you see as your top 3 priorities in the next term if you win this election?
My personal top 3 would be addressing traffic is 1, utilizing traffic calming procedures where possible and will actually make a difference in the flow of traffic on our city streets, especially streets like Virginia Drive, both North and South 2nd Street, McCormick Road through the Liberty Development, and Church Road. Highway 84 is a state highway, and the restriction by the state is limited to access on the Real McCoy to ferry to trucks under the 16.25 ton weight limit. Otherwise, trucks are permitted on River Road. The Highway 12 Caltrans 3-stage project is scheduled to finalize project design in 2023 and begin construction sometime in 24. A second thing is youth are not just our future, they are our now. When I interviewed for the city council seat on November 30th, I was asked if I could only accomplish one thing, what would it be? My answer was to reopen and fund the youth center. During the budget review sessions in June, I advocated for adding money to the youth center, and it was included in the budget in the amount of $35,000 and passed unanimously by the council. Additionally, funds were budgeted for a half-time recreation and community services director, which the city is now accepting applications for. This position will hopefully be filled and the new director will go to work in early January. I am also advocating for the addition of a youth representative on the Parks and Rec Commission and filling the youth representative position on the Public Safety Commission. Involving our youth in the decision-making process provides many opportunities. Cities, including Sacramento, Gonzales, and Lathrop, have found that youth councils enrich the lives of not only the youth involved, but of the city government as well. And oftentimes youth learn leadership and become familiar with city government, and it gives them an opportunity that they, after completing college, they return to their rural communities to help them keep on growing. Rio Vista is lucky to have a very knowledgeable city staff in every department. However, it is often hard to get things accomplished, and oftentimes it seems like the city is more of a roadblock than a partner. Therefore, the city needs to change its policies to make it more public friendly to get information, business licenses, and handle the city business that either a local business, resident, or visitor needs to do. Cross-training to cover departments within City Hall, consumer-friendly hours, and a can-do attitude goes a long way to welcome people to do business, live, and play in Rio Vista.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Donnelly, would you like me to repeat the question? You're on mute.
Thanks. Sorry, I think it was the top 3 priorities, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Sort of already talked about that, but I can repeat myself. Economic development is, I think, a top priority for Rio Vista, bringing businesses to town that will employ people here in town. And then I think that will help towards traffic and traffic calming, those problems that we do have. I happen to live on 2nd Street, and Waze sends them down my street every evening. So I do know those are issues. People coming off of Highway 12 and into our neighborhoods. I've talked to quite a few people, even at our newest development at Liberty Homes, that have people coming through their small neighborhood who are commuting. So maybe getting a few more jobs here, and our people at least don't have to commute, but also working on traffic calming and making sure that those trucks and people aren't commuting through our neighborhoods. That would be, and then other economic development to uplift our small town feel, bring other tourists to town, enjoy the waterfront, not just drive through town on Highway 12. I've been attending all of the economic development meetings with our consultant, and have really been interested in the feedback that people are giving, and looking forward to his presentation coming up in a couple of months. Again, I'm very tied into parents and youth in our community, even though I am a grandmother at this point, but still have a lot of connections with our schools from my time on the school board, my time as a substitute teacher. So checking in with them and finding out what they need rather than telling them what they need for their families and their children. Also, again, like I said, public safety. I've been doing some ride-alongs with our police department and our fire department to see what their issues are, and how I could help if I were to get on city council, and just knowing what goes on in their departments, and what they need from the city. So those are the top three priorities for me: public safety, economic development, and supporting what our families need here in Rio Vista. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our next question. And Ms. Donnelly, I'll let you take a breath, because you're the one, you're the person, you're the person to respond first to the next question.
Sure.
How do you see the government, city government, interacting more effectively with Caltrans on the traffic challenges we now face on State Highway 12 and the Rio Vista Bridge? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. This is sticky wicket for us here in town. Caltrans is a big operation, and we're a tiny city. We do have people that sit on their committees to let them know, Highway 12 committees, to let them know what our issues are. But they move slowly, and we'd like them to move more quickly. We do have the newest development where the city of Oakley and the city of Sassoon have opened up big warehouse facilities for Amazon, and those trucks are barreling through our town, going through the only stoplight that we have, which is also a route to school. I did sit on safe routes to schools when I was on the school board, and that's not a safe route to schools. Unfortunately, I cross that street at that stoplight all the time, and every time I'm at that stoplight, a big rig runs the red light. So it's an issue, and it's something that we need to keep working and advocating as a city with Caltrans to let them know, not just the amount of traffic, but, idling traffic because of the bridge. That's subject to maritime rules. So those ships take first priority, not the traffic on Highway 12. So there's no set times that they can go through that bridge. And so we're beholden to that maritime traffic law. Those trucks just sit there idling the whole time, and they're contributing to, greenhouse gas emissions. And, we have a really high rate of asthma in the students that we have, here in town. And I think that definitely contributes to that. So, a little bit of a David and Goliath type of situation that happens here, but just making sure that we have people in those meetings and on those commissions that are really speaking up for our tiny town and those issues that we do have with Highway 12 and the bridge traffic, the river traffic, actually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Donnelly. Now, Councilmember Williams, would you like to hear the question again?
Yes, please.
How do you see the city government interacting more effectively with Caltrans on the traffic challenges we now face on State Highway 12 and the Rio Vista Bridge? 3 minutes.
We recently had Caltrans at City Hall, which gave a thorough explanation of the upcoming events, the upcoming construction that will be occurring on Highway 12, which will bring some relief to the traffic. There is not going to be but State Highway 12 is a state and federal truck route. And contrary to popular belief, trucks do not cut through because they're trying to avoid the scales. There are scales at, there are scales at Cordelia and at Antelope. So there's no way to get to 12 without going through a scale. Many people, a lot of the trucks have stops in Fairfield and Sassoon, and then their next stops are in Lodi and Stockton. To go around Rio Vista by taking Highway 80 and getting to 5 that way would increase the costs of the trucking substantially, which would further impact our budgets because prices would be raised. It would be more costly for gas. It would be more costly for the trucks. Trucks pay a substantial fee to be able to drive on these roads. The bridge is always going to hold up traffic because, as Sarah stated, maritime rules. And again, we need to have that traffic, that ship traffic coming in to bring in goods, which is going to be carried by the trucks to be delivered in places like Rio Vista and other nearby communities. So city government can continue to interact with Caltrans and the Solano County Traffic Authority to try to increase their understanding of what our needs are and accommodating us to the best of all of our ability.
Thank you. Now, Councilmember Williams, you start the next question. So the next question is, small businesses are the backbone of the Rio Vista community. How do you think city government should better support them and encourage more businesses to locate here? You have 3 minutes.
That's a really interesting question. This is a really opportune time to start a new business in California, and specifically in rural areas. The small business, the California Small Business operation out of Sacramento currently has about 19 different small business loans available, which our city should be providing that information to anybody that is looking to start a business in Rio Vista, whether it's home-based, a large business, or a small business. They have the DREAM program. They have technical assistance to help people start businesses from the ground up. They have assisted many people with the opportunity to start an online business, which has grown into a brick and mortar business. So there is a bunch of opportunities out there, and the city needs to make sure that we avail ourselves of that information, that we provide it via our website with links so that people know where to look. Right here in Solano County, there is a veterans office that is a Cal Business office, which specifically helps veterans start new jobs. So there are a bunch of opportunities out there. We need to utilize those and bring them to the forefront so our businesses will succeed. But it also requires the residents of Rio Vista to help those businesses. You can't succeed if people don't come in and use your services. So we need to make those services available, the services that are made available to the residents need to be the ones that the residents want and need.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Donnelly, would you like to hear the question again?
No, I got it.
Okay.
As a small business owner, I opened my business in 2011. My husband's had his own business here in town for decades now. I'm very familiar with this issue. As what was referenced before, I think that the first thing the city can do is to be open to new ideas and open to new businesses and ask what they can do for business owners and people exploring new ideas for businesses, what they can do to help rather than putting roadblocks in their way, whether it's with codes or just the word no has come out of our city officials' mouths for far too long. And it's tamped down a lot of really good ideas that people have had. But I would say that our Chamber of Commerce could probably do quite a bit more. I've been a member since 2011, and just as a clearinghouse for some of those ideas about different funding that is available, and other ideas and for them to start a business. Support for things like a business plan. I had one, and it served me well when I started this business. I did a lot of research as to how many, what the population needed to be to support my business. And I think more people need to avail themselves of that kind of information. It's really not enough to have a hobby and think that you can, open your front door and everybody will come. You need to, have a plan. So I think, just directing people to how to put that plan together and then how to implement it with funding and whatever else is needed. The other thing is we don't have a lot of space available for people to start new businesses. We have some vacant space downtown, but landlords who aren't really interested in renting that space for retail businesses is what I'm talking about. That's my experience, of course. And then we also don't have a lot of office space for folks, to open that kind of a business. Those landlords are not interested in renting. It beholds them to keep them vacant and get that tax write-off. So working on that on a city level, I think would be another way to go, where we need to go as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And take a breath. You get the first response on the next question. Would you like to see the city council have more interaction and coordination with Solano County government agencies? What areas would you like to target for this? Start with 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I think we can avail ourselves of a lot of good information on the economic development side of things. We recently had an issue where it was thought that we needed to provide camping space for the homeless that we have here in town. We discovered just an account that was probably about 8 people, and that could be handled on the county level rather than here on the city level. And so I think just more communication and those kinds of ways is really helpful. We're out here on the edge of the county, and I feel like, we need to raise our hand and find out what's available to us on the county level, because all those big cities that we have west of us take up a lot of time and energy on the county level, and we need to make sure that we are making our voices known out here in the tiny town of Rio Vista. So I think it's a really good idea. There's a lot of resources that we need to avail ourselves of. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams, you have 3 minutes. Do you want me to read the question again?
No, I have it this time.
Okay.
Actually, the city of Rio Vista is very well involved in many of the county, on the county level, with many commissions and committees. Solano, we are represented in the Solano County Traffic Authority. We are represented in the Solano County Mosquito Abatement. We are the mayor attends the Solano County Mayors Coalition, where they all discuss what needs to go on. There's approximately, I believe, 17 different county commissions and committees that various people are engaged with in our city government. Some of those, an airport committee that our public works director is involved with. It's just an amazing amount of involvement that takes place. And that's how our voice does get heard, is by the people that take the extra time to go to these extra meetings. Being on city council doesn't mean you just show up twice a month. There's a lot of other commissions, committees, and things to attend to during your tenure as a council person. That's it.
Thank you. Well, I'll let you take a breath, Councilmember Williams. So you lead out on the next question. Development, especially in the downtown area, is a key issue. What do you see happening with the empty buildings and land areas in the next few years, and how can the city council facilitate activity in these areas? 3 minutes.
Fairfield just recently enacted an ordinance that for their empty storefronts that has the property owner create somewhat of an illusion that that building is occupied. It's extremely important for the downtown area to be welcoming, and having empty storefronts is not welcoming. We've got one particular store that's had brown paper in the window, I believe, for 5 years now. And that particular store has had a problem in that the owner or the renter of the business filed bankruptcy, and that bankruptcy is still not completed. I just checked on that recently. But that doesn't mean the owner couldn't take something and put up on the windows. One of the suggestions that Fairfield has used is using art as a way to decorate the storefronts, whether it's inside the windows or if it's on the windows, paint murals on the windows, put a little sign saying this storefront is available, contact. So that's one of the ways. And if they don't want to do that, then you can talk about a vacancy tax. But it's been something that has been kicked around on Planning Commission during my time on Planning Commission. We didn't want just sticks. We just didn't want to hit all the owners with a vacancy tax. So there was a notice sent out to every single business owner in town. And there were 2 or 3 meetings trying to come up with not just sticks, but some carrots to entice businesses to do more. It was actually well attended. And even owners that don't usually attend sent in letters. So I believe if there's more communication with those property owners, that we can make further strides in improving the look of downtown and doing something with the vacant properties.
Thank you. Ms. Donnelly, do you want me to read the question again? Or do
No,
you-
again, near and dear to my heart as a downtown business owner. I've been in 3 locations since I started 11 years ago, and so therefore dealt with 3 landlords, and and what that entails as a tenant owning a business that you need to keep operating and working with a landlord. Looking for other property that wasn't available, and met quite a few of our landlords here in town on Main Street with my husband's business and with my own, and found that they simply weren't willing to do anything. In fact, not even repair 2-foot wide holes in the walls. That was sort of on the tenant to do. And in fact, that's in the building where the brown paper is up on the windows still. I know for a fact that that landlord would not be interested in putting any artwork in her windows. She doesn't even want to fix a 2-foot hole in the side of the building in order to get a tenant into a space. So we have those landlords in town, and how do we deal with them? Our Chamber of Commerce has done some work to actually, they're the ones that put up that brown paper and do dress some windows, especially at the holidays or for other fundraisers that are going on in town. So they are, they do work on that. I think we've played nice. So I think we're at a point where we need to talk about vacancy tax, and hopefully that would be something that would work. But again, like I said before, those owners, it works for them financially to take a loss on that space and that building. And, that's what we're dealing with. And if we can, attract more businesses that would, offer a price and be able to, open businesses in our downtown. We have had quite a few open in the last even just a year, which is awesome. And those new business owners, and myself included, are forming a downtown business owners business association. And hopefully we can get some things done, on that side to bring more folks into downtown to start their businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Donnelly, you will lead out on the next question.
Mhm.
As in the most of the country, homelessness is an issue in Rio Vista, and some solutions have been offered. What do you think would be the best way forward to deal with the homelessness in Rio Vista?
Thank you. We're a small town but we do have a small homeless population. I walk out to the beach every morning and meet some of those folks on their way into town to do their grocery shopping. Some of the people are actually camping at our county park. Legally, you can stay there I think it's for about 12 days. And so they are doing that. A lot of people living in their cars. So not everybody's a fisherman out there. I do head out to the ferry on some of my walks, and there are people living out that direction as well on the river. And then even within our city limits here on the river as well. It's a place to take a bath and, boil the water, and I guess you can drink it, right? So we do have them. And as a city, the only thing we really have to offer them is a food bank. And we don't have any other resources. We don't have shelters. We don't have, anything to do. We do have the Veterans Home Project that Habitat for Humanity built, and they're expanding that. And so they're housing some homeless men right now, and have plans to house women in the next building that they're putting up. So that's been a great project and a community project, led by Habitat for Humanity. Really been a great resource for those folks. But we do have those others that we need to serve. And, in talking to one of our council members, he sits on one of the committees with Solano County, and he's been doing some research on that side to find out how we can get people to the shelters in Fairfield. Not that far from us, but if you don't have a car and you need to get there, we need to organize. One of his good ideas was to use our bus service that we have here in town that currently operates like an Uber, so you can call and get a ride where you need to go. We could do that for those folks and get them to those shelters. Which I think is going to be most important, when it gets cold, starts to rain, if it ever rains again. So I think that's a good way to address that problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams, do you want me to read the question again?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, Fairfield does have a Shelter Inc. project. The Solano County Grand Jury just did a review of their work for the last 2 years and found them to be quite short on services. This is also not a free, you have to offer the homeless people in Rio Vista an opportunity to go to those shelters, but they do not have to take it. Now, that's where the police department comes in, and they can sometimes make them move along a little easier. But that same shelter, Solano shelter, costs about, according to our chief of police, about $7,000 a day to hold a bed for somebody for Rio Vista. So it's not an inexpensive fix at all. There are financial considerations to be made. I agree that we have very limited resources here, only having the Rio Vista Food Pantry. And I agree that we do need to find a way to assist these people. But this is not a new problem. This problem is centuries old. There used to be hobos that would come through on the trains. Some people just do not take to living what we consider to be a normal life. And how do we reach them? This has been a problem that the police departments and the fire departments have been working with for eons. So there's no easy answers. A lot of times what it takes, sometimes they'll go, especially in the wintertime. Other times it requires the police department to actually arrest them and take them to county jail to get them off the streets if they refuse any help. So it's a long, complicated process. It's not an easy fix. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we turn around and you get to start the next question, Councilmember Williams. Many say there is little the city offers in the way of activities, entertainment, and support for our young people. What solutions would you offer to improve this situation?
As I stated earlier, when I was appointed to council, I was asked if I could only accomplish one thing, what would it be? And my answer was to get the youth center reopened, which we have budgeted $35,000 for the youth center to get it back into shape to reopen. We've also budgeted a half-year wage for a recreation manager who will plan and put into place programs at not only our youth center, but at our senior center and at the parks as well. So we're on it, we're doing it. It's slow, it's a process. And that's the one thing that's, I was hoping it would be done already. But now it's looking like, okay, by the time the kids get out for summer school, we will have something in place. And there are opportunities for the kids. We have soccer. Every year, the AYSO has both a fall and a summer league. We have Little League, which is run from March through about May. We have a public library that has a lot of programs for kids, especially the younger kids. Another thing that has been talked about and is being worked on is there's a chance that either the Boys and Girls Clubs of America or the YMCA might be interested in looking at our youth center and also running it. They've been approached. There hasn't been any finalized product yet, but it is something that is quietly being assessed by those groups. So it takes a little time. We're working on it. We haven't forgotten our kids. As I said, the youth of our town are not just our future. They are our now. They know what it's going to take to keep our kids, their peers need to have input into what we do in this city. And I will keep promoting that. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Donnelly, do you want me to read the question again? You're on mute.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
So having raised 3 kids here, worked in our schools, and been very active in all of the sports that they were involved in. All of those sports are still going on today. Though I did have, one of our kids who wasn't into sports. And we don't have a lot of opportunities for those kids. We do have an art center that has opened up, art and music center, and that was definitely something that that youngest son was very involved in. He had a band here when he was in town. So we need to, continue to direct people to those things. And as Councilmember Williams said, we have a very active library staff who are providing a lot of great opportunities for kids there. My own employee sends her son there every day, after she picks him up from school and still needs to get some work done in the afternoon. So very good programs that are going on there. Our kids aren't wandering the streets. It's true, we don't have a movie theater, we don't have mini golf, we don't have some of those things that, I grew up with, but we do have things for the kids. We have lots of opportunities through Seroptimist and through Rotary for students to get involved in our high school programs and participate in community service. I've seen a lot of good volunteers out there at the Rio Vista Food Pantry. So kids are involved out there. I've been involved in our church for all these years, and we have a very active youth group, and other churches here in town have the same, catechism programs for the younger kids and then youth group for the older kids. And like I said, other churches are doing similar kinds of programs so that there's activities on other nights of the week, things going on. And I recognize that there's more that we could do. And so, there are things that are happening on the city level. And And on the private level, there's a young woman who would like to start her own nonprofit to serve those kids. And hopefully we can, help support her in that. And that would be, a great way to go. So not just public, but also, private situation going on to help our kids. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Donnelly, you lead out on the next question. Residents' water bills are notably high, due in part to the high fixed rate sewage cost assessed monthly on each household. Do you think a reduction of this fee would be possible in the next few years?
Unfortunately, I don't see that happening. It was referenced earlier that we need to abandon our sewer plant that's out at the beach. That's right down the street from me. So I see them driving NASA tank trucks out there, gathering up the poo and transporting it across town in trucks to our other more modern plant across town. So we need to abandon that plant, and we need to make it all flow uphill to the other plant. So that's going to take a lot of infrastructure and funding for that. The city has, and currently, has explored and will put in place different ways to fund it. So it won't be all on us as property owners, but it is what it is. It's aging, and I live in what's called Core Rio Vista, and all of our pipes and all of our systems are aging. And when we moved here to Rio Vista over 30 years ago from Concord, I think we paid about $20 for water and sewer, and we didn't have a water meter either. So there was no way for the city to assess if we were using more or less. So all of us in town have meters now, and hopefully people are paying attention to the city's rules around that. But we all use our toilets. It's just the way it is. And you live in a city and you don't have a sewer, a septic tank, you have to deal with it. And so the rates have gone up to when I moved here from Concord, we paid about $50 a month for water and sewer, and that was over 30 years ago. So I think that we if we look at communities around us, and we're in the Association of Bay Area Cities, take a look at what other people are paying in other cities. It's high here because it's gone up quite a bit, but it might be pretty close to what other people are paying. And we, it's part of being a citizen. And like I said, unfortunately, I don't see it coming back down. And, I feel people, they've retired here, they're on fixed incomes, that's a bill that everybody gets, and, it's a hard one, but that's what it is, unfortunately.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams, do you want me to reread the question?
No, that's all right. I'm pretty familiar with this one. Yes, we have to close the beach plant. It's got to be decommissioned. It has run its useful life. We can't afford to have infractions caused by that plant. Prior to any rates being changed, according to Proposition 218, there has to be a rate study. And that will work for our wastewater treatment, our water, and our water system. And that will be done very soon. And the public will be well informed of what this rate study comes up with. I agree, we're not going to be going backwards. It's not going to go down. But I also have researched different areas, and it's fairly comparable in many areas now. Ms. Donnelly said that she paid $50 for water and sewer here 30 years ago. that's, 30 years ago, life was different. And now things cost more. I used to pay 25 cents for gas too, but I don't think we're going back there either. So no, there isn't a reasonable expectation that the prices will go down. There is a reasonable expectation that we can keep the increase to a minimum. Our infrastructure, as far as plumbing, the pipe work for storm drains and whatnot, has been, over the last 11 or 12 years, about 80% replaced. So we're really only focusing on what is the most direct route from the downtown core Rio Vista area to the Northwest plant. And what are we going to have to do to get there? We have a consultant coming up with a plan now. We should have results from that within the next month or so. And we will be putting out the rate study request for someone to, we don't do that ourselves here in Rio Vista. That is done by another consultant. That will soon be in the works too. So I hope that made sense.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question, Councilmember Williams, you'll be up first. Development of the abandoned military base, now owned by the city, has been an issue for the past decade. Do you see any progress being made on determining how best to use the site and get something developed in the next 5 years?
Oh, the old Army base. What a prized possession that is, at the same time having a lot of issues. The buildings have deteriorated. There is asbestos. That is a hazardous material, and the cost to clean that up is going to be high. There are, however, grants that can be applied for to get some of that work done. Also, according to the finalization of the paperwork, when they transferred the Army base, one of the restrictions was you can't develop homes out there. So it's got to be businesses. Another park would be good. Will it happen in the next 5 years? I think some of the development will start to happen. I was recently told that the California Department of Fishery is still interested in doing their marine project there. And they are waiting, as usual, for the federal government to catch up and see if that's going to happen on their end. But yes, I think there will be some development, but I still think it's going to take time to really bring that forward to the best possible use for the city.
Ms. Donnelly, do you want the question read again?
No, very familiar with this property. We've lived in our house since 1997, and we're right down the street from the Army base, right down the road. It's about a mile out there to the beach and back. And like I said, I walk it every morning, walk past that property every morning, and have a chance to have some dreams about what it could and should be its highest and best use. And I also walk with other people, see the same people pretty much every morning. And one of those couples is a realtor here in town, and he's a contractor who's flipped a lot of our older homes here in town. Prior to that, he was with a large construction company. So they've shared some really good ideas. But the first idea is for the city to sell it to a developer for the highest price, and let them deal with the asbestos and everything else that needs to be cleaned up, because it is a very valuable piece of property. And we aren't to be in the business, I don't think, of being developers. I think what we need to do is let them know how we'd like some of the property to be used, maybe, make that part of the agreement, their development agreement. Things like open space and park space, needs to be part of the plan. And that's what we require of, other developers who come to our city. So someone else can take on that burden. In talking to our interim city manager, there are no conveyance restrictions on that property. It's wide open and it's gorgeous. So this, contractor that, neighbor of mine, his idea was to build a stepped care. So we need healthcare here in town. We need nursing homes, skilled care here in town for a lot of our residents. And wouldn't that be a beautiful place to live out your days, sitting on the river, watching the boats go by and turning your wheelchair around if you were in one, and watching the kids playing soccer on the field right behind you. So much space out there that you could do that and have other kinds of housing for our people. And we need a lot of apartments, and that's a good place to build them. But it's time to sell it and move on and let somebody else do a gorgeous development for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Donnelly, we'll start with you for the next question. And actually, the next two questions have to do with the airport. So here's the next question. The city is planning to apply for a Federal Aviation Administration grant for $7 to $9 million to extend runway 25 by 500 feet to the east. Rio Vista would have to come up with approximately $1 to $2 million for our share. Are you in favor of increasing jet aircraft flights in and out of Rio Vista Airport?
I'm unmuted. Yes, I think that it's a huge asset for our city to have that airport and attract, other businesses to town that could use it. And it is worth that investment. And, I think there's ways, it's not going to come out of, hopefully, the taxpayers' pockets. There's ways to fund those kinds of projects. But again, very key to our economic development, that if we can, ideas like, this country needs people to be manufacturing chips and other technology, on our home soil. And we have built out everything at the park that we can do. We're built out in terms of pot grow. And so we have a lot of space out there that we could use for other kinds of manufacturing, and those companies could utilize the airport for their businesses. I think it's a great idea. And, it's exciting to me that there's this, that other people have recognized it and, are willing to put the money towards it. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams, would you like me to reread the question?
No, thank you. One of the things that the city has been looking into is a fixed base operator for the airport. And the fixed based operator, which will be soon making a presentation and then a proposal to the city, has some small lightweight jets that would actually require a longer runway. So not only would a longer runway be beneficial to that FBO who trains people on these airplanes, but it would also be beneficial on the economic development side. Cannabis, for instance, is currently restricted to within the state limits as far as transportation. But with some of the federal guidelines potentially changing, that may be another avenue that our current cannabis and hemp businesses use for shipping out some of their products. So I don't, I believe that we should do it. And I believe that there will be enough grants available that it will actually bring us more income and a larger tax base to the city, which will enable us to do more things.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's, Councilmember Williams, we'll kind of turn right around. There's another question that came in on the live stream chat that also addresses the airport. And this person says, I was told by a council member that the airport should not be operated by Department of Public Works. Do you agree? And who would manage it?
As I said, the city is already looking into a fixed-based operator. There was a report done in 2012, I believe, 2012, 2013, called the Aries report, and it gave several different options for the airport. One of them was to leave things well enough alone, which we've done for several years. Another one of the other options included selling it, giving it to the county and let them running it. And another option was a fixed-based operator. And that's the way the city is choosing to go at this time. We believe that that will increase our tax base. We believe that that will bring more use to our airport, and the airport should be utilized more. One of the things we've got, as was mentioned somewhere along the line, the Delta Breeze operates as an Uber now. We've got Bass Derby coming up. There's people that can fly in for that and get downtown via the Uber, the Delta Uber. So yes, fixed base operation and no more public works handling it is an ideal situation.
Ms. Donnelly, would you like to hear the question again?
No, I think I'm good. Right, so I agree. Public Works needs to get out of the business of running the airport and back to the business of, as they've been doing, of fixing our city streets and keeping our aging infrastructure operating, and they're doing a great job of that. So we'll leave it to the experts to run the airport. As a owner of a future, hopefully not too far in the future, Airbnb, yep, it'd be great to have people, fly in and take advantage of, renting that from us and finding out all that the city has to offer. And, they'll have bikes there for their use and kayaks and, and they can walk to downtown. So great way to get here, to fly in, stay off of Highway 12. So, back to that, right? If we have more people able to use the airport and its new longer runway, some of those trucks can, get off of the streets, off of the streets and off of Highway 12 and, get up in the air with their products. And so it's a great idea. And, I think that it sounds like, it's moving forward. So that's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's time for us to move to our closing statements. So you'll each have 4 minutes for your closing statements. And Councilmember Williams, you start with your closing statement first because you were second in opening.
Thank you. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for giving us this opportunity to share our ideas and vision for the city of Rio Vista. It's really important. One of the most important things I believe as a council member is involving the community. Each person in our community is a human asset, and each one of those people need a voice to be heard. We need to do better at making sure people understand when meetings are, for which meetings. We need to promote our general plan more and get more information from our residents. Again, our politics can be better when we listen to the community and work for the community. And that's imperative to me. I believe that the challenges that Rio Vista is facing with well water and with our wastewater are actually opportunities. It's our opportunity to improve the city to be its best. Our economic development is extremely important. And as I said, I've been advocating for that for my entire time on the Planning Commission. And I was definitely in agreement with getting the economic development consultant that we have. And he has really brought to the forefront some ways that we can utilize different areas of our town and bring people to be here, to come in. So I believe that we are moving on a path forward, and it takes one step at a time. And we are doing it as fast as it can be done. I believe that we can improve things. I believe that our city government is good, but it's been mentioned that oftentimes they said no. That's gotten better, but there's still a bit of a roadblock, which is why I said that, one of the top 3 goals to achieve in the next 4 years is making that city government customer service friendly. And that's going to require some changes in policies and procedures. And we're up for that. I like thinking outside the box. I know some of our residents have said, well, we want a bowling alley and we want a theater and we want this and we want that. Well, you know what? Maybe we can't have a 40-lane bowling alley, but let's think out of the box and see if we can get a developer to do a combination smaller bowling alley with a smaller theater. We're a town of 10,000 people. We don't expect to get much bigger than 17,000. So let's work on the things that we can do now and keep the progress one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, and build our city responsibly, both financially and fiscally. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Donnelly, your closing statement, you have 4 minutes.
I am, like I said, I've been here for 30 years. So I've seen a lot of growth and a lot of changes. And I would say most of them have been very positive, even with, different administrations where, no was the answer. And having said that, I think, in order to further economic development, we don't just need a consultant who's going to come in with some beautiful pictures for us here in the next few months. We need an economic director. And we had that in the past. He was my neighbor here, and he did great things for the city of Rio Vista, getting the business park established, places where people like California vegetable specialties are, and Rio Vista Farms and Hayes. And so he was very crucial in using his contacts in other communities to bring that to Rio Vista. So we need an economic director. We need to make that a priority and help us in that direction and bring economic development to this small town. And again, what our constituents ask for and what's feasible with the limited population that we will have in the future and currently have in the present. As a business owner, as somebody who's very active in our community, out and about all the time, I'm all about listening to what people have to say. I'm very accessible. When I was on school board, having a storefront, people were able to come in and talk to me about what they needed, because it's really not about what I want. It's about what our community needs and wants and what they have to say. I would say, another priority that I have is as a walker, as someone who rides her bike, we need to have this town be more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. And by that, I mean, we need to connect the developments that we have spread out in the city and make sure there's a way to get around that doesn't include, getting in your car and getting on Highway 12 or Airport Road. And, even including not just bicycles and pedestrians, but a lot of people out at Trilogy get around with their golf carts. And so if we could do something to connect the city, connect our neighborhoods together, I think that would go a long way. We no longer have buses for our school kids, and so we need to make it safer for them to get to schools and to get across town. And so that is something, as I said, people have come to me about in the past and, and going forward. So I'm very available to people, and I'm about listening to people and what they want, and not necessarily bringing my own agenda to the city, but bringing to the city what the citizens are needing and wanting in their government. But thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. Casey, do you have any concluding remarks you'd like to make? You're on mute.
I'd just like to say that the city has a very interesting choice to make here because we have two strong candidates. And as you've heard, they both have a lot to say about what's going to be happening. So I hope everybody's listening carefully and that this helps you make the choice. I thank you, Carol and Craig, for helping to facilitate this, and the League of Women Voters. The minute I suggested this, everybody jumped up and said, yes, we need to do this in Rio Vista. So they were very cooperative and very helpful. And I want to thank the two candidates, Robie Williams and Sarah Donnelly. You jumped up to the chance too, and have performed quite admirably. And so I think that we have a lot here to think about and a lot to mull over. And I'm glad that we're going to be keeping the televised portion up so that people who haven't been able to do it tonight will be able to come back and take a look. So thank you all.
Okay. Well, thank you, Casey, and candidates. Thank you very much for your comments, and I wish you both well. You both can't win like in the full term election, but we're glad to have been able to make this opportunity for Rio Vista to happen. And as Casey just said, we will have the recorded version of this candidate forum on our YouTube channel. And anyway, just pass the word, and hopefully we'll get people to check it out. Just one other side comment, just a personal comment. in some of my other dealings, I'm the treasurer for Solano Napa Habitat for Humanity. So we love the great support by the people of Rio Vista for our Veterans Homes project. And yes, we are targeting another build for another 6 veterans. And we're looking forward to getting those partnerships going. So on a personal basis, I'm very appreciative of all the support that the Rio Vista folks have provided. So I think that concludes our forum. I will close the live stream and then have a good evening.